Who gave life to Adam? The text says, Adam, having arisen, suddenly opened his eyes. When he saw Eve, he said, You shall be called mother of the living, for it is you who have given me life. But there was a consequence to this. See, the true human, the divine spark, was now trapped in matter. And just like that, Yaldabaoth's scheme was complete. By creating a physical body, he created a system to ensnare the light within physical forms, keeping us locked in bodies that suffer, age, and forget our true origin. And he did it so that we would serve him instead of awakening to our real power. Now, hold on. You might be wondering why the hell Sophia would send Eve to give life to Adam then. I mean, that seems weird, right?
Yeah,
Why would she
does.
be trapping souls? Doesn't it seem like that's what she's doing? Well, not necessarily. See, she had a plan. Sophia believed that by infusing light into the darkness of matter, it would ultimately undo all the evil of creation, that it would destroy it from the inside out. Earlier, Sophia says to Yaldabaoth, There is an immortal man of light who has been in existence before you, and who will appear among your modeled forms. He will trample you to scorn.
There is an immortal man of light who has been in existence before you, and who will appear among your modeled forms. He will trample you to scorn, just as potter clay is pounded.
Just as potter's clay is pounded. See, Yaldabaoth thought he was making a servant, but what he actually did was create a walking time bomb. A time bomb of divine knowledge. Divine light itself was now imprisoned in a cage of flesh. And if that light ever woke up and realized what it was, game over. See, from this moment on, the battle lines were drawn. Yaldabaoth and his archons wanted to keep humanity ignorant, blind to what they really were, but Adam, Eye of Light, was the blueprint, the reminder of what we actually are. So hold on just a minute, because let's think about things from the Archon's perspective here. They tried to make Adam, but he just lay there lifeless. So they ditched him. But when they came back, they see that he's somehow come to life. And then there's Eve, this luminous being of light, and they have no idea who she is. So naturally they freak out because they realize that Eve is similar to Sophia. So they come up with a really gross plan. Basically what they decide to do is defile her, by forcing themselves on her. Because they believe if she mixes with darkness, that she won't be able to return to the realms of light. Then they plan to lie to Adam, saying that Eve came from his rib. On the origin of the world says, the Archons said, What sort of thing is this luminous woman? For she resembles the likeness which appeared to us.
The Archon said, What sort of things is this luminous woman? For she resembles that likeness which appeared to us in the light. Let us bring deep sleep over Adam, and let us instruct him and his sleep to the effect that she came from his rib, in order that his wife may obey, and he may be lord over her. I don't know whether I believe in all this. You know why? Because it doesn't make sense. Okay, the Archons want to create that being, that human, okay. Now, where he took all these things from, where he take the ADN from, the DNA from, where? If he didn't have any access to them. Now, they say no, the mother used the daughter, Eve, to give to this false human being, a female human being, life. Take her light. Now, if this Sophia's daughter has light, maybe it's because the father wants from the light and the mother, no, the Sophia doesn't have light. Because if the daughter has light, who is the sister of Yaldabaoth, why Yaldabaoth also doesn't have this light? You see, doesn't make any sense. How come only she has light, the mother has light, the daughter has light, except the son? It's unfair, right? So how come she gives light to one secondary human being but doesn't give it to her own son? I don't understand. You see, it's very difficult to
Us in the light.
understand.
Let us bring a deep sleep over Adam, and let us instruct him in his sleep to the effect that she came from his rib in order that his wife may obey and he may be lord over her. But Eve, being the
Human
ultimate badass
mind is
she is,
very
literally laughs
creative. It's very vivid.
at their plan. So what does she do? She blinds the archons and leaves a lower version of herself with Adam, and then enters the tree of knowledge. So when the blind archons come after her, she reveals herself as the tree of knowledge itself, and they completely lose it and run like cowards. So the archons have a problem. A big problem. Despite their attempts to play God, they're starting to realize that humanity, their creation, isn't as submissive as they hoped. There's a spark inside Adam and Eve, something that wasn't part of the original make humans dumb and obedient plan. So what's a bunch of cosmic, insecure tyrants gonna do? They try to terrify them into submission. The rulers gather together and they go up to Adam and Eve. Now remember, this Eve is now a lower physical version of Eve, not the
So it's a hybrid Eve, I would say, not the original one who already was here. So as I see it, is the following. When these beings came, they didn't have any light. Okay? So what they did, they didn't insert any light from them into the human here. But what they did was to diminish that light in the first place by infuse their own DNA through copulation, through mating with them, with the woman in here, mostly in Africa. Okay, this is what they did. They didn't mate with the woman in here. So the former humans here did have light, and I still do. Some are a bit obfuscated, some not, some are brighter, but still they do nonetheless. However, that's how I believe. The Sufi itself didn't have any light, nor did that he had daughters. But the light was more into the humans who already existed inside the earth.
higher Eve of life. But when they go up to Adam and Eve, they don't act like vengeful gods of wrath. Get this, the text actually says they come in acting timid, like nervous salesmen on the first day trying to con you into a pyramid scheme. On the Origin of the World says, they came up to Adam and Eve timidly. They said to him, "The fruit of all the trees created for you in paradise shall be eaten. But as far as the tree of knowledge, control yourselves and don't eat from it. If you eat, you will die." Now, of course, this is a total scam. They just don't want you to realize your own divinity. So the Archons need Adam and Eve to stay ignorant or it's game over for them. And how do you keep people from questioning their reality? Fear. Sound familiar? Kind of like what's going on today. But here's another question. Remember the serpent in the Garden of Eden? What if the serpent wasn't the villain, but the hero? Let me explain. The higher Eve, Eve of life, is about to ruin the Archon's plans. Now remember, the higher Eve is not the physical version of Eve that she left with Adam. Now, the text says that she appears as the beast, which is almost certainly referring to the serpent. But it also says that her real title is the instructor, and the Archons just call her the beast because, well, they're assholes. So Eve of life, as the serpent, goes over to the lower version of herself, the physical Eve and Adam, and says, "What did God say to you? Was it, 'Do not eat from the tree of knowledge'?" The physical Eve replies,
I guess this story is like that. I almost break it. I guess that he's referring these archons are from Sirius and Nibiru, the Anunnaks. So what happens here is that they came here to manipulate the original human beings already existent here. And in the process, the Queen of Orion, who invested prior to them here into the beings already found here when they invaded or explored, she brought one of her daughter to come and inform the hybrids with the Syrian archons and Nibiruan archons to tell them that they are divinely being and to eat from the tree of knowledge. And this is what the tree of knowledge really means. Means to remember who you are, because now you are trapped inside a vessel, a dumby vessel filled of layers, and your memory once erased, removed. So this Orion Queen daughter came over to inform the beings, to inform Eve, to give Adam, to show Adam the truth about his originality. Okay, tell this Adam, the second Adam of the fake Adam here on earth, the human hybrid Adam, about some of his originality.
Not only did he say, do not eat from it, but do not even touch it or else we will die. And here's what she tells them. The instructor said to her, do not be afraid. In death you shall not die, for he knows.
The instructor said to her, do not be afraid, in death you shall not die, for he knows that when you eat from it, your intellect will become sober and you will come to be like gods. Indeed, it was in jealousy that he said this to you, so that you would not eat from it. Yeah, it's jealousy. No, it's not all this, is desperation. I see this as a way of desperation. He was too frustrated and he wanted devotees to love him, Psychologically, I see things like that. I see things like that. He was too desperate to be beloved, that he needed to be acknowledged. So he manipulated what he knew to be slaves. And he manipulated the beings who already have a common light inside. And he mixed it with his DNA so as to taint it. Just how the original sin started, how it originated. That's how I view it.
That when you eat from it, your intellect will become sober and you will come to be like gods. Indeed, it was in jealousy that he said this to you, so that you would
jealousy also is desperation, a mix of emotion, desperation, envy,
not eat from it. Now Eve, the human Eve, the physical Eve, hears this and it clicks. She looks at the tree again, but this time differently. And so she takes the fruit and she eats it. And she gives some to Adam and he eats it too. And in that moment, their eyes were open.
Adam looked pretty dumb, man. How I see it. So dumb.
Opened. And this is about seeing the world for what it really is. The illusion shattered.
The tree of life represents knowledge. Go back to originality. To eat the fruit of life.
Eating from the tree wasn't the first sin. It was the first act of liberation. Remember?
It's not a sin. The first sin was to have polluted the original human here. That was the first sin. Because he tainted out of his desperation and his greed for power.
Remember when the Bible says they realized that they were naked and ashamed? On the origin of the world reveals that this nakedness wasn't in an oops, we forgot our pants kind of way. It was a metaphor for them realizing that they had been naked in knowledge. And they recognized that the archons, the rulers, the gods that made them, that they're not gods at all. And what did they think of the so-called God and his archons now? Well, the text made it.
Naked, the nudity here means what? To expose something, to put forth, to explore things, to know things, to make yourself naked in truth.
Crystal clear. It says they loathe them they were very aware. By the way, did you know that the movie The Matrix was inspired by all this? The humans in The Matrix are the trapped souls, the agents are the archons, and the fruit of the tree of knowledge, that's the red pill. Tell me in the comments if you want a video about all that. But anyway, Adam and Eve, they just took the red pill and figured out what was going on. And you know the archons weren't going to take this well. The second they realize what's happened, they totally lose it. Earthquakes, threats, the whole fire and brimstone act. Adam and Eve, now aware, panic and hide, not because they're guilty, but because they know what's coming, that the Archons are pissed. And sure enough, the Archons show up demanding answers like some divine police force that just got outsmarted by the people they were trying to control. Yaldabaoth and the Archons want answers, and Adam is still pretty scared, and he points to Eve, who in turn points to the instructor, or the serpent, and it's total chaos. But the authorities couldn't do much to the instructor, so they curse Eve, her offspring, Adam, the earth, the crops, pretty much everything they can think of. Their curses are petty and desperate. They know that
Real desperate. And the dude so coward blame all the girl. And the girl blame the Orion daughter queen, snake queen. What a mess. Blame nobody, blame the Archon, say it's you, your fault, it's all your fault. It's not mine, it's this coward Adam here and yours. It's not mine or the Orion queen daughters.
that they've lost the upper hand here, and the Archons get even more paranoid. They see Adam and Eve as threats because they've gained knowledge, and what terrifies them the most? The possibility that Adam and Eve might eat from the tree of life and become immortal, fully divine beings. So what do? They kick Adam and Eve out of paradise and place fiery angels with flaming swords to guard the tree. But again, it's all part of the plan. Even in exile, Adam and Eve carry the light within them. The rulers can curse and control the physical world all they want, but they can't extinguish the divine spark. But now let's talk about how Zoe gets her revenge. Remember her? Just as a reminder, because it can get kind of confusing here, there's Sophia, her daughter Zoe, then Eve of Life, who's basically Zoe in the form of a divine human, and then the physical, material version of Eve. So, Zoe is pretty pissed because the Archons are basically fucking with the lower version of herself and Adam. So she sees what the rulers of darkness have done, cursing humanity, trapping them in ignorance, and basically making the earth their personal playground of suffering, and she's not having any of it. So with her full divine might, she casts the rulers down into the world of matter. She traps them in the very realm that they were trying to dominate. So they're no longer rulers in their lofty heavens, they're now reduced to demons. Remember her? Just as a reminder, because it can get kind of confusing here, there's Sophia, her daughter Zoe, then Eve of Life, who's basically Zoe in the form of a divine human, and then the physical, material version of Eve. So, Zoe is pretty pissed because the Archons are basically fucking with the lower version of herself and Adam. So she sees what the rulers of darkness have done, cursing humanity, trapping them in ignorance, and basically making the earth their personal playground of suffering, and she's not having any of it. So with her full divine might, she casts the rulers down into the world of matter. She traps them in the very realm that they were trying to dominate. So they're no longer rulers in their lofty heavens, they're now reduced to demons sulking around the earth and manipulating humanity from the shadows. It's
what she did, if it's really true, what this female did, she did more crap. So she's the one to blame for all this mess too, because what she did. She, with her stupidity, she threw demons here to this earth, to tempting, disturbing the humans. What she was thinking when she did it? You call this, she what, a heroine? For me, it's stupid in a very senseless, and she wasn't thinking quite well when she did that. Why didn't she just throw them somewhere else, in the black hole somewhere? Why have to be Earth? Because she knows not her domain here. It wasn't them who created all this.
It's pretty fitting. It's a poetic justice. The jailers become prisoners themselves. But Sophia and Zoe don't
Yeah, but for the treatment of those beings were already here, right?
stop there. They orchestrate a plan that's been in motion since the beginning of time. A plan to overthrow these rulers of chaos and liberate humanity once and for all. Because here comes Jesus, the Savior. But this is not the Jesus that you would recognize from Sunday school. This is the Gnostic Jesus, a revolutionary, a disruptor, and the ultimate opponent of the God of the Bible. See, in the Gnostic view, Jesus wasn't sent by the God of the Old Testament. In fact, he was sent to oppose that God, the God who drowned suffering. She's not having any of it. So with her full divine might, she casts the rulers down into the world of matter. She traps them in the very realm that they were trying to dominate. So they're no longer rulers in their lofty heavens. They're now reduced to demons sulking around the earth and manipulating humanity from the shadows. It's pretty fitting. It's a poetic justice. The jailers become prisoners themselves. But Sophia and Zoe don't stop there. They orchestrate a plan that's been in motion since the beginning of time. A plan to overthrow these rulers of chaos and liberate humanity once and for all. Because here comes Jesus, the Savior. But this is not the Jesus that you would recognize from Sunday school. This is the Gnostic Jesus, a revolution.
If this is really true, why should they don't do away with them once and for all? First of all, they stay on the shadow. Second, they do nothing year after year, promises after promises. And nothing is done, and things get worse and worse and worse and worse. And we are the fool here of the court. How to trust all this? If she had the power in the first place to cast them down, why she haven't got the power to take them away from here? Why? Because they think it's convenient to have them here in the first place. So they too are to blame, not only these dark forces, but them.
A disruptor and the ultimate opponent of the God of the Bible. See, in the Gnostic view, Jesus wasn't sent by the God of the Old Testament. In fact, he was sent to oppose that God. The God who drowns the world, demands sacrifices, and rules through fear, that's Yaldabaoth. And Jesus' message is a challenge to everything Yaldabaoth stands for. He comes here not to want worship or obedience, but to wake humanity up to its true divine nature. While Yaldabaoth says, I am a jealous God and there is no other, Jesus says, you can become like me. See, Jesus' mission is to tear down Yaldabaoth's kingdom of lies and free the divine spark in everyone by bringing...
What for become like me, him? Follows me, I am the way, the truth, and light. But how mean is making miracle if it is in a, I mean like in a way that you could undo all the wrong done here in this earth, which already has grown roots, and it's too difficult to remove it from the earth. You know, all this root is embedded inside the earth, deeply inside the earth. And it's so difficult to uproot now. So what for? If you follow him or whatever, what is going to happen? What's the point? You're going to become a fool in hell. Yeah, fool in hell, because this is hell. And then become a fool, and everybody jump on your back, do as they please to you, make you the fool of the court, taking advantage of you. Yeah, this happens, and you know. Everybody who is adult know it, what is happening around the eyes, you know. So what? For what? Follow him. If he do nothing, nobody do nothing. But you have to be the message of light. You need to be the healer. But for what? Alone. If you yourself say that you have the power and you do nothing, you want us to do. You want us to fight for you for your only mistake. Right? Because if all this is true here, why on hell would this being come and create this this human, not say create, but manipulate what already were here. It was created by the cosmos. Our mind, our memories of our past, distant billion, trillion of time before, of eons before, was erased from us, from our memory. They came here. They invaded. They created religion, politics, science, geometry, religion, organization, politics and economy, geography, everything they created. All our social conventions created by them. And you want me to fall for, to believe that? I don't believe all this. Sorry, I don't believe in religion. I don't believe what's saying here. Because she was the one to blame. Because she said the modified. That one was the Nima, the sister of this Aldabaez, not even the mother, the sister. The sister in a love at the same time. Though Aldabaez here will be in Kaya.
Knowledge. The text says, now the Word that is superior to all beings was sent for this purpose alone, that he might proclaim the unknown.
Now the Word that is superior to all beings was sent for the purpose alone, that he might proclaim the unknown.
He said, there is nothing hidden that is not apparent.
What has not been recognized will be recognized. And this was sent to make known what is hidden. And the 7 authorities of course and the impiety, and those they were condemned to death. That is, BS. How come this being itself brought them here? They who manipulated the human. And now they blame these dark forces? Oh, come on, man. Come on. It's just like the good guy, if white collar good guy, between parentheses, now blame the red t-shirts or the black t-shirt people. You see how I see it? For the things that they themselves created. Who manipulate the humans? Who cast this being here? Who sent them here? Did they come on their own accord or somebody else cast them here? Now they sent one redeemer, whatever. For what? What did it change until now? It has been 2,000 years before and nothing really has been done.
And what has not been recognized will be recognized. And
Yet
these were sent to make known what is hidden and the 7 authorities of chaos and their impiety. And thus they were condemned to death. Now things are about to get real, because guess what? On the origin of the world ends with the end of the world. So how does it all end? What's the finale to all this cosmic drama? Well, first, in order to understand what it really means, there's something you need to know. So you might be wondering, did all of this actually happen? Am I sitting here saying that there was actually a lion-faced God throwing a tantrum like an asshole CEO of heaven? That Adam of Light built himself a 7 times better universe like some cosmic celebrity? Or that Eve was walking around as both a woman and a talking serpent at the same time? Well, no, not exactly. But before you breathe a sigh of relief here, let me hit you with something that's actually a lot more shocking. This is all happening inside you. Here's the thing. Ancient people weren't dumb. They weren't sitting around making up stories about lion gods and forbidden fruit just for fun. They were trying to explain something huge, something that people still haven't figured out today. These stories, they're not about history. They're about you. They're about what's happening inside of you right now, every single day. Gnosticism was never just about gods and cosmic drama. It was about the mind, about the struggle between ignorance and awareness, about waking up to who you really are. So let's break it down. Yaldabaoth, the blind, arrogant ruler who says that he's the true God, that's your ego, the voice in your head that says, I'm in control, I know everything, I need to know, I'm the center of the universe. That ego is blind. It thinks that it's the source of everything, that nothing existed before it, but deep down, it's actually terrified that something greater exists outside of it, that it's not able to control, that it's not the highest power. And what does the ego do when it's scared? It lies, it creates illusions, it builds entire systems to keep you distracted so you don't realize the truth about yourself. Then there's Adam, Eye of Light. This is the blueprint of what you could become. In other words, it's your higher self. This isn't about some floating, glowing guy in the eighth heaven. It's the part of you that knows better, the part of you that sees through the illusions, the part that knows that you're more than your thoughts, your fears, your insecurities. It's what you can become. But here's the problem. Your ego, Yaldabaoth, doesn't want you to realize this higher self exists, because if you do, game over. You stop living in fear. You stop believing the lies. You wake up. And what does the ego do? It creates a fake version of you, a shell, a programmed identity, a personality shaped by external forces. That's the earthly Adam, the version of you stuck in the system, believing whatever the world tells you to believe, the one who forgets who they really are. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. The eighth heaven, it's the part of you that knows better, the part of you that sees through the illusions, the part that knows that you're more than your thoughts, your fears, your insecurities. It's what you can become. But here's the problem. Your ego, Yaldabaoth, doesn't want you to realize this higher self exists, because if you do, game over. You stop living in fear. You stop believing the lies. You wake up. And what does the ego do? It creates a fake version of you, a shell, a programmed identity, a personality shaped by external forces. That's the earthly Adam, the version of you stuck in the system, believing whatever the world tells you to believe, the one who forgets who they really are. Now, here's where it gets really interesting, because it has to do with the most misunderstood character in this whole story, Eve. Because Eve isn't just a person here, she's a process. Eve is intuition, inner wisdom, that little voice in your head that says, hey, something's not right here. She's the moment that you start questioning everything. And when the archons, your fears, doubts, and programmed beliefs say, don't eat from that tree, don't ask questions, don't seek knowledge, just obey. And what does Eve do? She calls BS. Adam and Eve end up eating from the tree of knowledge, and they wake up, the illusion shatters, and suddenly you see the world and yourself as it really is. Now, let's talk about the biggest scam in history, the fall of man. Because if you really think about it, Adam and Eve didn't fall, they rose. They gained knowledge. They saw through the lies. They realized their own power. And how does the system react when someone breaks free? Panic. Earthquakes, curses, divine threats. The archons freak out and do what every controlling power structure does when it loses control. Now, this sounds a lot like what happens today when people break out of any system of control, doesn't it? So with all this in mind, what does the end of the world in our story mean? Well, On the Origin of the World says the archons' days are numbered. When humanity starts to wake up, the text describes their downfall, their heavens collapsing, forces consumed by fire, and the entire realm of darkness obliterated. It says, their heavens will fall one upon the next, and their forces will be consumed by fire. Their eternal realms, too, will be overturned, and his heaven will fall and break in two. Then it describes how the light within us will triumph and return to its source, and the glory of the light will fill everything. Humanity, finally free from the ruler's influence, will enter the kingless realm. But what does the kingless realm mean? Remember, this whole story isn't about something that literally happened in the past or an actual physical event in the future. It's about something that's happening all the time inside of you. The ego, Yaldabaoth, wants to keep you asleep, trapped in illusion. It wants you to stay busy, distracted, afraid, not questioning anything. The higher self, Adam of Light, is the part of you that knows something out there is greater. It's waiting for you to recognize it. It's your higher self. And Eve, the instructor, is that spark, that voice that urges you to ask and seek and awaken. So what's the kingless realm? It's a state of consciousness where we've mastered ourselves. It's a place with no rulers because we rule ourselves. It's the kingless realm. Now, here's the most important part to remember about all this. Every time you choose fear over questioning, you obey the archons. You let them rule you. Every time you choose comfort over truth, you stay trapped in their system. But every time you choose to ask, to seek, to wake up, you eat the fruit. And that's the real secret. The Garden of Eden isn't a place in the past, it's in your mind. And you're still standing before that tree every single day with a choice: eat or obey. Now, there's a lot more to the story, and if you want to know the real reason that God destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, watch my video on it now.